Hello, welcome to today's episode of Spirit Seers.
I did it.
Welcome to today's episode of Spirit Seers Speakeasy. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the Boilermaker series from Sugar House Distillery. So, about 2 years ago, I wrote up an article on the website about the Boilermaker Series 3. 18 months ago, we had talked to James Fowler, owner and head distiller at Sugar House, about doing a special episode at the distillery to celebrate the release of Series 4. Then a little thing called COVID hit. We had to cancel. We never ended up doing it. James kept distilling and actually came out with batch 5 earlier this year. So we're going to talk about batch 4 and batch 5 today. So for those of you who don't know, Boilermaker is a beer cocktail, right? So traditionally, if you order a Boilermaker at a bar, they're going to give you a beer. You're going to drop a shot into the beer. In some places, you could consider a Boilermaker if you shoot a shot first and then follow it up by sipping the beer. Traditional kind of Boilermaker type cocktails, you might have heard of like an Irish car bomb, would technically classify under that. Specifically, it's got to be whiskey. Other beer cocktails like a spaghetti wouldn't be considered a Boilermaker because it's not whiskey. So the idea behind the Boilermaker series is that James ages his bourbon in his barrels, and then he gives his barrel to a local brewer. They then age their product in the barrel, and then they give it back to James. And then James ages his bourbon additionally in the barrel, thus taking on the flavors of whatever was previously in that barrel. So for the 2 series that we have here today for Series 4, this was made with a Red Rock Furling barrel. So it was aged in that barrel. They gave it to James, and he aged his bourbon in the barrel that had been aging that Furling beer, which is a Imperial Stout. Fantastic beer. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And then for 5, it went a little bit different. And it's the first one that's not a beer. It was actually aged with a cider from Mountain West Cider. So there was a barrel-aged cider. James got the barrel back, and then he aged the bourbon in the Mountain West cider. So you're going to have 2 very distinct and different flavor profiles. It's still that great Sugar House bourbon that we're all accustomed to here in the Salt Lake area, but it's got that additional aging, which helps mellow it out a little bit more regardless of having the barrel been used previously to age a malted product. But it's takes on the different intricacies. So what we're going to do here today is we're just going to try these. We're going to talk about it a little bit, go through it very casually, and kind of taste it. So this is the 4. Like I said, it was done with the Red Rock Furling, 100 proof, 50% alcohol. We're going to open this one up. We'll try this one first. We'll just go in numerical order. One note about the Sugar House bottles, and there's actually a lot of distillers out here that do. It's not just the Sugar House bottles, but it's got a synthetic cork. I hear a lot of people have problems opening these. We'll try twisting them off and pulling them out. That's not the way you open up a bottle with a synthetic cork. So I'm digressing a little bit here, but I think this is a good tip for everybody to know and to keep into your wheelhouse. If you've got, this is a brand new bottle, not been opened. I did cut it, but I've not actually popped the cork yet. The best way is you're just going to take this bottle, you're going to put your 2 thumbs and just pop it right off like that.
Just push forward and up.
Just push forward and up. It takes 2 seconds. If you try to yank it, you're going to spend, I don't know, 3-4 minutes, but probably get whiskey everywhere. And
Don't yank it. So did you have your own bottle of 4 and you just bought a new one?
I bought 2 bottles. These are both
Okay.
sold out products.
Okay,
Pass this down.
that's what I was thinking.
So that's a good point, Sabra. So let's talk about that a little bit while we're filling these up before we taste. These are limited release. Typically, they do one once a year.
Yep.
In collaboration with, as I said, local breweries. Once they're sold out, they're sold out. There's never a whole lot of bottles. Interesting enough, the first, I think, 3 series lasted for several months. Series 4 sold out quite quickly despite COVID hitting and going into lockdown right after it was released. Series 5, I believe, sold out the same day or the day after. I think it lasted 48 hours.
I think part of it is originally when James started doing this, nobody else was doing anything like this, at least locally. And so it took a few releases for the word to really get out and for James and the crew over there to sort of prove that the quality was there, because it should also be mentioned that these Boilermakers are a little bit more pricey than the standard bottlings, usually by about $20. But having had all of them myself and talking to a lot of other people who have, they've gotten to the point now where they do have like a cult following, and when James announces that they're going to be released, there's a line,
massive line,
down the block to get a bottle.
Yeah, and I always buy 2 bottles. I have since number 1, and I'm glad I do because they sell out very fast.
The Furlong too. The Furlong beer is one that also it sells out every year. It's another one that Red Rock announces usually a couple of days before when it's going to be available, and there's a line to their beer store that goes all the way down the block, and it's usually sold out that day.
Yeah.
They hold back a few, like for their pub and their restaurant and stuff, but yeah, as far as just getting some to take home,
I don't usually get a chance to bring it
odds
home.
aren't good.
Yeah, I don't usually get that chance. I usually end up having to try it at the pub just because,
Yeah, the Red Rock special releases are crazy.
Yeah,
they are.
Here in Utah.
The only one I can reliably get into is the Part of Bloom.
And even that one can be difficult.
It is. I usually take a day off of work so I can get to that one.
So when I smell this, I definitely do smell that stout off of the.
I think this one's like it's got a lot of that baking spice too.
It does, yeah. It really goes well with the release time that these usually come out at. It's that winter
Like
release
fall.
that you just want to sit in front of a fire in your fireplace and just sip on this.
No, I
Although
want to
the
sit in
last
front of a
2
fire in the middle of
I was
the
just
living room.
gonna say fire not in
floor.
the fireplace.
say,
For
although-
those of us who doesn't have a fireplace, it's, I settle for my
Aaron's
HGTV.
it's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah, just like light a fire in the middle of my living room. It's fine. It's no big
Although
deal.
you're right, Mike, they used to come out. I think the first 3 came out in December,
Now it's in
but
October.
these 2 both came out in the spring.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it's it's not always like clockwork either. We were just talking with James about this a little bit a few days ago. It's so hard to guess when this is going to be ready,
Yeah.
and so on his part and his crew, especially like Tom, it requires constant tasting and watching, because you want to find the sweet spot without letting it go too long. And so that might be 3 months in the barrel, that might be 6 months, it might be a year, or anywhere in between.
And it's so easy to say, okay, this is headed in the direction I want it to go, let's let it sit a little bit longer, and then end up in that spot where, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have let that sit longer. That ran too long. It's not good anymore.
Yeah, whatever was in the barrel before definitely makes a difference. The beers that they've used that have been stronger flavors definitely come through. The bourbon quicker don't seem to need as much aging. The more subtle ones seem to need a lot more aging to get the flavor profile to come through.
I don't think I've tried the Mountain West one with the cider, number 5.
Weird.
I'm excited to try number 5. I didn't get to try 4 or 5 because I really have not left my house much.
So the number 5, what's interesting about this one is this one's 92 proof. So that one is lower, is 100 proof. This one's lower at 92 proof. This was finished in cider barrels. Again, the Mountain West. So we'll try this. What's crazy about this one was when I first opened this up, you can see I've done some damage to it.
Yeah.
This is my personal bottle. I didn't get a lot of cider notes off of it. I was a little disappointed, and then I kind of put it aside for a while, and I opened it up a couple weeks back, and I was getting crazy cider notes. So I don't know if having some time in the air helped it, or if it was just an age thing, or what happened, but smell that. Just had the furlong.
Oh, it smells like rotten cheese.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I don't get that at
I
all.
don't get any cheese at all. I get apple.
I get full-on rotten cheese.
Yeah, I get none of that. It smells like an apple orchard to me.
Yeah, that's what it smells like to me. I can definitely smell the apple on it.
When I was a kid, my parents
Much.
brought me to a pick your own apple like orchard type place. That's what this takes me to.
Much sweeter off
Yeah.
the bat. Right up front, sweet. Not as apple as I smell, but the apple is there on the finish for me.
Yes.
It's like a treetop apple juice box.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Yeah.
And it's right at the end because
Yeah.
you get the apple on the nose. It's very whiskey on the flavor, and then it just kind of drops into that apple, like that apple juice flavor at the very end. It's really,
Well, what's
I enjoy that.
I mean, what's crazy about this is you've got the same bourbon,
Yeah, same mash bill.
same mash bill,
same
everything. Slightly different proof, so it is not quite apples to apples, pardon the pun, comparison. But
It's driving me nuts.
It's just the spirits moving through the
Spirits
studio.
are moving and they're playing with the lights.
It's been distracting me all day.
It's the power behind the bourbon.
so you have the same bourbon, same mash bill, slightly different proof, but it's just so much different based on which barrel was used. I mean, it tastes like two totally different bourbons.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess it is because of the way it was aged, but it's just crazy to me how much it changes the flavor of it.
So with the 4, when I said it had the burn, this doesn't have that.
No, this is much softer.
There's no.
Yeah.
It's softer, but I still get a huge burn.
Do you?
Really?
Well, I get none.
I get nothing off.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
I have had.
Maybe you've been in floral land too long.
Yeah.
No, I always
But
seem
even
to pick
that-
up on stuff that you guys don't.
I've been in cask strength land for the last year, and so like
That's
everything less
my
than
problem.
Everything less than 120 proof tastes soft to me.
Well, no, guys, welcome
my
back.
problem.
We still have livers, and we're here to say.
Well, it's not even like alcohol burn. It's like it tastes like a rye to me. Is what I'm getting.
don't get
It's like
that.
I get like a rye spice to it.
Yeah, it's definitely bourbon to me. I don't get the
I
rice
love
spice.
the difference in
Some
the
more water?
in that case.
No,
because
yeah, it's fascinating.
You know,
Do you want to try some more water, maybe, and see?
I drink a ton
I
of
kind of
water.
wish I could get some of that blue cheese smell off of it, though.
Right?
She's
Because that sounds fascinating to me. I would
Still there.
love for.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd love to taste that.
It is
really
great.
is.
It really is.
I've really.
And this was kind of mean to do to you guys because you can't buy these anywhere.
no.
But what you can do is you can follow Sugar House Distillery on Instagram, Facebook. You can go to their website, follow what they're doing because they are doing some really cool stuff.
They are.
And you can get the next release. And I don't know what the next release is going to be.
I do.
I do too.
And you can, get in line, get it, take it home, try it out for number 6, and tell us what you think.
I would say too, besides the Boilermaker, so the Boilermaker really kicked off the whole thing, but James has gone all in on the barrel finishing thing. And I'll just say that in talking with him just a couple days ago, he has got like a whole bunch of really interesting barrel finishes in the works at this very moment.
Yeah, I'm excited for those.
That when they're ready, I mean, they'll blow your mind.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing we need to mention too is everything that they do at Sugar House is true grained glass here, made in Utah. They're not doing any sourcing. It's no mixing of sourced and homegrown product. It's 100% homegrown product.
Like, I would say homegrown to the point where literally all of the grain that they use in their distillery is. So I would say homegrown, like, to another level, to the point that all of the grain that goes into these whiskeys comes within 150 miles of the distillery.
Yeah, I think that's what they advertise. is
The
100,
the wine
150.
people like to toss around the word terroir. They want you to taste where it's from, and even the rum people do that a lot. And as far as like terroir in whiskey goes, I think this is about as close as you can get without going to like. I mean, the next distillery that comes to mind that isn't in Scotland would be like Ransom up in Oregon, where they grow a lot of their own grain. But yeah, it's Utah and Idaho, malt and corn and barley and rye and all that stuff. They ferment the grain. They distill on the grain.
Well, and the malters here in Utah.
They do it the hard way, yeah. And some of that malted barley and everything is literally floor malted in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about Sugar House before. We did right before COVID the single malt showdown where we showcased the Sugar House single malt. They've got a great rye. I don't think we've actually showcased it, which is funny because the rye is my favorite that they do. Probably, well, although the single malt I think may be beating it out recently.
That wine barrel finish was.
But everything that they do is just fantastic. Constantly improving, constantly, trying to get better with every single version that they have. I can't speak highly enough of them. I think what they're doing is innovative for Utah. It's really, really, really hard to start up a distillery and focus on whiskey. Yeah, and like I said, keep your eyes open. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, the
And
socials. Yeah, the Twitters, the socials, whatever your medias are.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're there on all of them. Follow us because we'll also post about it too.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
We like them. So, anything else?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Be sure to click like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and so you don't miss our future videos. We have over 100 other videos for you to peruse at your leisure, including cocktails, instructionals on how to make your own ingredients, more speakeasies like this, a podcast you can watch, I would say. And we'd love to have you along for the ride.
Definitely.
So,
All right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Keep the spirit.
Keep the spirit.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
never buy you a Coke.